Hey, what is up, legends? My name is Derek or J Nova, and today we are back. Let's talk about some Call of Duty. First, let me address the elephant in the room. Yes, I shaved my face. I look like a child. It's all right. We're going to get past that. We're going to talk about the beta today. We're going to talk about the beta. The beta is officially over. It ended on Monday of this week. But I just want to talk about kind of my opinion on it, everything that kind of happened, and just how I feel about the game. We're going to go through kind of a few different topics of just things I wanted to talk about and just kind of give the gist on what the beta was. If you didn't get to play it, or maybe you did play it but not as much as some of the other people, I think I put around 10 or so hours into the beta. I didn't grind it like a lot of the people did, but I played it quite a bit, and I think I formed somewhat of an opinion on Black Ops 6 in general. So let's talk about it and just kind of how I felt about the game, what I think of it, and yeah, let's get into it. So I want to start with the weapons and the gunplay and just how the game felt as far as the engagements went. I think the guns felt pretty good. I think everything was pretty viable in terms of, you know, just time to kill and stuff like that. I think the Jackal really stood out, which is the gun you see me using in the gameplay. I think the Jackal stood out a lot in the first week before they nerfed it a little bit. So that was kind of what you saw the most of. I think in Call of Duty, especially nowadays, you're going to see a lot of a meta build being used most of the time, just with how prevalent content creation and like the competitive Call of Duty scene is. So you're going to see a lot of those meta loadouts, but I feel like a lot of the guns were pretty viable, especially moving into the second week of the beta. I think the C9 is pretty damn good. I used the C9 quite a bit towards the end. That the Tonto 22 submachine gun that they added was also really, really good. So the subs in this game felt amazing. The Ames, which is basically the Krig from Cold War, was amazing. I probably used that gun the most out of anything. I think the XM4 was really good. Even the XMG LMG, the XMG light machine gun, was a fucking just absolutely beam rifle, dude. That thing was crazy. Like, if you use that on Scud and just sat on that like main satellite area, that little head glitch in the middle of the map, you could just gun people from across the map the entire time. So overall, I think the gunplay was just really, really smooth. All the guns, for the most part, felt pretty similar in terms of time to kill and just, you know, the way that they were used. None of the recoils were super crazy. I didn't really snipe at all. I've heard sniping is pretty terrible in this game. I know a lot of the sniping community is pretty upset with the current state of the sniping, so hopefully that gets addressed. As much as I hate them, I think the sniping community is a pretty vital part of the Call of Duty community. And if you guys want to use snipers against me while I'm tryharding with my submachine gun, go right ahead. Yeah, I think for the most part, TTK and everything, like I said, I mentioned it in the other video, I think TTK is a touch too fast. I do think that, you know, the game would benefit from a slightly higher time to kill. I just think that the skill gap and everything would be a little bit better if time to kill was a little bit higher. I think after playing the beta more, I do think it is a little bit higher than what I originally thought it was. I think I just hadn't been playing Call of Duty that much to really form that opinion. I do think it's closer to Cold War than I realized at the beginning. But I do think, like I said, I think it could be a little bit higher. That way, it just feels like, I feel like you die really, really fast in some situations in this game. But for the most part, gunplay and everything felt really, really good. So moving on to movement. I know I talked about movement quite a bit in my original video, but Omni movement feels really, really good. It feels natural. It feels kind of like it should have been in COD forever. It just feels like you have more of like a connection to your player. I know that might sound weird, but just the movement, like side and backwards, just feels more natural. And I think some people have said that it kind of feels weird. I think, especially once you get used to it and you get used to it really, really fast, it just feels smoother. I feel like you can make movements, and the way that you move around the map just feels more natural now, just because everything is faster. I also think it helps promote people not sitting in corners. I've noticed, at least in the beta, and especially with the small maps, which we'll talk about in a minute. But I just feel like this game is played a lot faster, which, for me personally, I think Call of Duty benefits from this style of play. I don't think there's a single map in this game that promotes like sitting in corners and stuff like that, which is good. Like I said, we'll talk about the maps in a minute, but the movement overall, I think, promotes just running around and getting in gunfights, which is awesome. But overall, it feels super smooth. I really don't have any complaints about the movement. Everything just, it doesn't feel clunky. It feels natural. I think Omni movement, after experiencing it in the beta at least, should have been in Call of Duty this entire time. So before we jump into the maps, I did want to talk about just like the perks, kill streaks, equipment, all that stuff. Really nothing crazy to report on here. It's all pretty much what we know and love in terms of perks and stuff like that. One thing I do like is wild cards are back. So we have things like perk greed, primary gunfighter, stuff like that. I think perk greed will probably be the clutch wild card that most people use just because of the perk specializations, which is, I think, a new thing in this game where if you use all three, or if you use 3 of the same perk category, they're all split up into categories. If you use 3 of the same, you get like an additional kind of modifier that gives you an additional perk, basically. So if you use 3 of the red perks, like I was doing in pretty much all of my gameplay, you get an additional one where after each kill you get like buffed health regen and movement speed, I think, which in my opinion, I think that's going to be kind of the crutch wild card that gets used, just because that's pretty insane in terms of, like, especially for people that are running and gunning. I could see primary gunfighter, which is it allows you to use 8 attachments on your gun. I could see that getting used. I don't think it's as important in this game. I didn't feel like the attachments gave as much of a difference. I tried using primary gunfighter on my Amy's class, the AR, and I just didn't really notice too much of a difference in terms of like recoil or TTK or anything like that. So, I mean, I could see it being used for the casual player, but I think perk greed will probably be the one that gets used the most. Ninja is a perk in the game. It does say that you move quieter though, not completely silent. So I don't think complete silence is going to be in this game, which honestly, I'm fine with. As long as there's something that mutes or makes it a little bit quieter when you're moving around, that's fine. I don't really mess with Ninja or anything like that in public matches. It's more of just for competitive sake. But as long as there's something that makes it quieter, that's good with me. As long as it's not a goddamn field upgrade or something like that that you can only use every 4 minutes or whatever. That's all good. So Ninja is in the game. One thing that I guess it would be a constructive criticism point is kill streaks. I think kill streaks in the beta were really underwhelming. I get that they probably didn't put in the beta at least a lot of the good ones because they wanted, you know, people to focus more on the gunplay and the maps and stuff like that. But overall, I felt like they were pretty lackluster. The score to get them is insanely high. The Hellstorm missile was 1,200 points to get, which is 12 kills. Obviously, it's score streaks, so things like, you know, capping points and getting time in the hard points, stuff like that, that all counts towards your score. But if you're just getting kills, that's 12 kills for a Hellstorm missile. That is insanely high, and I will say this is like the best Hellstorm iteration we've gotten because you can basically get like 3 or 4 kills with it every single time you use it. But it just feels pretty high. The Chopper Gunner, I think, is only like 3 or 4 kills on top of the Hellstorm, which is insane to me. But the Chopper Gunner in general felt pretty underwhelming. The spawn protection in this game is insane. So you're not going to kill people like on small maps. And again, we'll talk about maps in a second, but pretty much all these maps are small, and everyone has spawn protection 24/7 because everyone's just coming off spawn because this game is so engagement heavy, at least in the beta with all the small maps. So I do think that the kill streaks could maybe come down in like the score that's needed for them. But again, like I said, we haven't even seen all the kill streaks, so I could just, you know, I could be proven wrong once the game comes out and there's some kill streaks that are higher up there that are a lot better. So we'll see. The only equipment that I think I have an issue with is the Sleeper Agent. If you guys didn't run into it or you don't know what it is, basically it's a equipment that you can use that regenerates every once in a while, like the Assault Pack or like the other ones there. But basically you use it and it makes you look like a teammate to the enemy team. This is incredibly annoying. So you can't shoot your gun or it basically takes it off and you're an enemy again. But you can use your knife and run around and knife people, and you get no aim assist on the guy, and he just runs around. It's hard to tell who is a Sleeper Agent, who isn't. I just think that it's a little. I feel like the way that it should be balanced is that if you kill someone on the enemy team, it takes you out of the Sleeper Agent mode, basically. I don't think you should be able to run around with your knife and get kills with it. Like, eventually, I think once I was aware of it and kind of conscious of it, I started realizing who was and who wasn't a Sleeper Agent. But it's just incredibly annoying to play against. I feel like balancing-wise, if they get 1 kill, they should no longer be the Sleeper Agent. It should, you know, they should show up with a red name and have aim assist just like everybody else. Just because basically that is a guaranteed 1 kill. I think that is more than enough for an equipment. I don't even think it should be a guaranteed 1 kill. But like I said, I think balancing it like that should be what should happen in the game. And I don't even know if having it how it is in the beta was their intention. it sounds like what I just said is kind of like what they wanted it to be, and the knifing was just kind of a workaround that the community found. So we'll see how it ends up in the actual game. But now let's talk about the maps. So this seems to be kind of like the biggest point of contention, at least that I've seen on Twitter. I don't think the maps were really that well received. We didn't see any of the remakes in the beta, so we didn't see like the Firing Range remake, the Nuketown remake. We didn't see any of that in the beta. We all saw original maps. I will say I didn't hate them. I don't think that there's a great map that we saw in the beta. I think the best two maps were probably Babylon and Skyline, in my opinion. Babylon was the short, or the really small map that they added for the second week of the beta. But overall, I think all the maps are extremely small. The biggest one was Scud, I believe, and even Scud was not large at all. Kind of just had a bigger line of sight in the middle of the map. So you couldn't really run through there, so it just promoted longer engagements. But the map itself was pretty small compared to the maps that we've gotten in the past. I would like to see, I'm hoping that they have some bigger maps in the backlog that they just didn't put in the beta. Like I said, I think they probably were trying to push smaller maps, push the engagements up. That way people were just running around and just getting used to the game, used to the movement, used to the guns, that kind of thing. But in general, it seems like Treyarch is really going for a faster paced game, which I don't hate personally. I just don't think that these maps were anything special. I don't know. I don't hate them. Like I said, I don't really have a problem with any of the maps. I just don't think any of them were amazing. I wasn't blown away by any of them. Babylon was probably my favorite just because it is kind of like a shipment style where it's just super, super small. And, you know, those maps are always fun. It's just chaotic and kind of what Call of Duty is known for, just being crazy. I'd say my worst, or my least favorite map was probably Rewind. That map just kind of flowed super weird. I feel like it was hard to see people on that map, to be honest with you. It's just that middle area, like in that comic book or DVD store, whatever the hell it was, just really, really hard to see people because everything in there was red. So you couldn't really see names. I don't know. Rewind just really wasn't my favorite, but Derelict was okay. Just like I said, just kind of flowed weird. Babylon and Skyline were by far my favorites. I think Skyline actually plays pretty well. I could see that being a future competitive map probably. But again, it's just really, really small. So I don't know. As far as spawns go, probably the worst spawns I've seen in a Call of Duty game in a while. Specifically, like on Derelict, the spawns are god-awful. I mean, Derelict and Babylon were probably the two worst, in my opinion. I would get spawned behind by like groups of people consistently on those maps. Which, again, it's hard to balance spawns in general, especially on small maps. So, you know, it happening during the beta it's going to happen, right? It's when they're dialing this kind of stuff in. But like I said, the spawns on those two maps were just atrocious. But overall, I'm really excited for this game to come out. I think this is like the most polished Call of Duty that we're going to be getting over the last few years. Treyarch's had, I think, 3 years to work on this. So I'm excited to see what the final product is. Like I said, I think we got like a really solid little glimpse of the game. As far as like stuff that, you know, content that we got to play, I feel like this beta was pretty conservative with what they gave us. I don't think we got very much. I mean, we got, what, 2 or 3 guns in each category, and then like 4 maps total, like 6 if you count the face-off ones. So we really didn't get that much content as far, like, in terms of betas. I feel like in the past, and I might be wrong, but I feel like in the past we've gotten at least a little bit more, which I'm fine with. You know, it leaves a lot to be desired, which is good, because that means when the game comes out, you don't feel like you've played it before, right? And especially if they change stuff like spawns or how the guns are, stuff like that. So I think that this game will be a nice breath of fresh air. It definitely plays very differently than Modern Warfare 3 and Modern Warfare 2 did. The engagements are cranked way, way up. You know, I was finishing games with like 40 plus kills pretty much every game, which in Modern Warfare 3 I feel like is pretty rare. You just don't really have that many engagements in Modern Warfare 3. I think in my last video I mentioned how the game kind of plays a little bit differently than what Treyarch usually pushes out, and I think, like I said, originally I just hadn't been playing Call of Duty enough to really form that opinion, but it definitely plays different than like an Infinity Ward or a Sledgehammer game does. So it has like that Treyarch feel. It is more similar to Modern Warfare 3 just in terms of like movement and stuff like that goes, but overall it does feel like a Treyarch game, which is great. So yeah, I'm excited, and I guess we gotta wait until October to play the full game. But yeah, let me know how you guys enjoyed the beta. If you played it, leave some comments in the comment section down below. I will say you guys have been killing it. I've gained like 400 subscribers over the last 28 days or so can't thank you guys enough. Honestly, it means the world to me, especially all the new viewers and stuff like that coming in. So thank you guys so much. But that's all I got for you today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a comment in the comment section down below. Maybe like, maybe share with your friends. Hit that notification bell to be notified every time I post a video. Thanks, guys. I'll see you guys all in the next one. Peace.